Hi, this is Cheryl McQueen with Bello's Designs. Today we will celebrate the coming of autumn with this card using the Lavinia Sticker Stencil leaf and the smooshing technique. So let's take a look at the supplies that we're going to be using to make this card today. We will start out with a Lavinia Multifarious Smooth and Supreme cardstock. This has been cut down to be 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. We will then have a frame around the edge that we will create using a piece of brown cardstock that has been cut to 4 3/4 inches by 4 3/4 inches. Our cardstock background to make the card base is cut to 10.5 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and then I took that piece of cardstock and just folded it in half. We will use the Lavinia Sticker Stencils. It's hard to see with this, but as you can kind of see here, this is the leaf stencil. This set is called the Nature and Nurture Collection. For our stamps, we will use the Lavinia Small Reindeer. This one is LAV 487. We will use one of my favorite leaf stamps. It is the Oak Leaf Branch, and this one is LAV 468. And then for our words, we will use the Sweet Poppy stamp set, and this one is just called Seasons. And they've got spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and of course we will go ahead and use the autumn stamp. For our base stamping, we are going to use the VersaFine Clair Acorn. And for our inks for creating our colors, we will use Distress inks. We'll be using the Mustard Seed, Carved Pumpkin, Lumberjack Plaid, and Walnut Stain. I will also be working the smooshing technique by using a spray bottle with some water. So I've just got a little sprayer here that I can use to mist the surface of our work surface to be able to create our neat looking pattern on the leaf. We'll also use some of the blending brushes and some little daubers. I'm also going to go ahead and use the Lavinia masking sheets. And what I want to do with this is I want to create a mask of our actual leaf that we're going to create so that when we do our stamping with our background stamps, it will not go onto our leaf. So I will show you the process that I did to create this. We will also go ahead and use a stamping platform. I like to use a stamping platform so that I can re-stamp something if I don't think that my ink is on there thick enough, and with that I use the stamping platform with a sticky grid on it. That way I don't have to worry about using any magnets. We will also use an adhesive tape or a glue to put our project together. Alright, so I think we are ready to start working on our project now, so let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is create our leaf pattern. So what we're going to do is take the cardstock piece, the multifarious, and then we're going to take our sticker stencil. Now what we want to do is we want to peel and use the part that creates a void. So I'm going to peel off my stencil from this little backing sheet, and I'm going to use the piece that has the void. Then what I want to do is center that in the middle of my card. Now a lot of times what I'll do is once I lay it down is I'll just take it and hold it up to the light to make sure that it's in a spot that I like. So This is where I want it to be. Now I want to go around all the edges and make sure that it's stuck down really well, because we would like, with this particular technique, to not have any of our ink seep through. So make sure that your piece of stencil is down tight. Now, so it's really hard to see right now, but as we start working, you'll be able to see it a whole lot better. If you happen to have a piece of cardstock that you've used that's a little bit bigger, just be sure that you tape out around the edges to make sure that it doesn't get onto your paper when we're doing our smooshing process. Luckily, if you cut this down to 4.5 by 4.5 inches, you won't have to worry about that problem. So what we're going to do is start out with our 3 colors of the Lumberjack Plaid, the Carved Pumpkin, and the Mustard Seed. So I'm going to take the first one. I'll just use Mustard Seed first. And I'm just going to put some down on my work surface here. Scoot this over just a little bit so you can kind of see. And then I'm going to spray some water on top of it just to give it a little bit of a wetness and a little easier flow. And then I'm going to take my little card here and I'm going to lay it upside down and just dab and moosh and squish around a little bit to get that ink onto my paper. Now the fun thing about this process is just do it until you get what you like. So I might try and do a little bit more on some of the corners there. And just rub it around. Alright, so when I've got that to the point that I want, I'm going to go ahead and just take a little piece of paper towel. And I'm just going to wipe off my stencil a little bit. And then wipe up my work surface over here. And if you'd like to, you can clean it up with some water. You don't necessarily have to, since these colors are going to smoosh together anyway. So then we will move on to our carved pumpkin. Same process. Put down some of our color. Misted it a little bit. And then smoosh and drag around a little bit. Now, if you'd like to, you can also go ahead and, if you've got a heat tool, go ahead and dry it in between rounds. I'm going to dry just a little bit. That will also help to create layers, even if with the same color on top. We'll get a little bit more color down here. I think I'm going to have to wipe that up and refresh my orange. Spritz it. That's our carved pumpkin. And smoosh and swipe around. And I like getting some of these darker spots. That just helps add to the unique look of it. And maybe just one more dabbing of orange. And since I've already got some water down there, I'm going to go ahead and just leave this. See if I can't get a little bit darker orange. All right. Clean up my surface. Wipe off my stencil a little bit. And now we will move on to the Lumberjack Plaid. You may have to rub down because you do have a little bit of an edge with your stencil because of the thickness of it. So you may end up having to kind of try and get down into and push down into the paper into the surface of your ink that you have created there on the work surface. So let me take a look at this and see if this is how I like it to be. Play with it until you find exactly how you want it to look. I think I'd like a little bit more orange, because I really like the orange color. Pick up a little bit more orange. All right, so get it till you get to the point that it's pretty cool and unique looking. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and peel up. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and put a little color on there. I'm going to put this back down. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of color on there using my stencil brush. That will fill in somewhere some of the white is and really enhance and blend the colors. So I'm going to take the carved pumpkin and my stencil brush or my blending brush and just go over the entire stencil surface there and fill that in. Blend those colors together. I was trying to jump ahead of myself a little bit there. But by putting this down, this allows us to really get a nice, cool looking fall leaf. Okay, so now that we have got a little bit of orange there blended in, let's go ahead and take some of the Lumberjack Plaid. And we're just going to go ahead and at this point take our little dauber and we're going to add just a little bit of color around the edge. So I'm just going to take my dauber and flick it close to the edge all the way around. And I think I'm going to try and do a few darker spots just to help kind of accent and make that edge look really cool. Okay, and so now we're at the point that we can go ahead and peel our leaf off of our base card. And now we have this really great looking fall leaf. Okay, so our next step is we're going to want to stamp our background using our autumn stamp. So we're going to get ready to create a mask of our leaf, and I'll show you how that we will stamp the background without getting on top of our leaf. So the way that we're going to go ahead and create our stencil is we're going to take a piece of our Lavinia masking sheet. So I've got one right here. And what I want to do is take my stencil, just lay it down on my paper, and then using a pen or a pencil or something that can give you a nice fine outline so that you can get the look of the stencil to be exactly the same. You want the size to be so that you can overlay it. So I'm not going to go ahead and draw this out completely, but basically the idea is that you're going to trace out the shape and then you're going to cut it out. So since I have already done that to do my first card, this is what the result will be, is that you will have this little piece of masking sheet that you can then peel off of the background, which is this clear plastic. You can keep that if you want to use your mask again at some point in time. Just set it aside because you're not going to need that. And then you're just going to place this over the top. And sometimes it's a little hard to get it lined up, but just do the best you can. It's not going to have to be exactly perfect, but get it lined up the best that you can. And it does get a little bit less sticky as you use it a few times, but when we start doing the stamping process, you'll just, it won't matter. So now we've got that on top of our leaf that we, whoops, you get that little stem pulled back out. It folded under on me. There we go. And so now we can go ahead and stamp our background words. And when we do that, the stencil that is on top there, the little masking sheet, is going to keep it from going across the top of our leaf. So now I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way so I don't knock it off. I'm going to take this and place it down on my little stamping platform. And then I'm going to take my stamp. And let's go ahead now that we've done with the smooshing process, I can go ahead and scoot that back over a little bit. Now you can see from here what I decided to do was I stamped it first and then I did a little second generation so that I can get a little bit of variation. You can do it either way. You can either do it fully across the entire way, or you can use your second generation stamping. It's whatever you like. I went ahead and, like I said, did that as a first and second generation stamping. So now I'll take my first one, ink up my stamp, and then press it down. And then for my second generation stamping, I want to give it a little bit of interest and then just bring it in just a little bit so that it lined up exactly even. And then without re-inking, I'll do the second generation stamping. So I've got a nice little bit of a lighter stamping there. Okay, then I'm just going to move over and I'm going to do it right beside the first one. Get that lined up where I want it to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and continue stamping this the rest of the way. So now we have got our stamping done, and we can go ahead and peel up our masking sheet. And now our stamping looks like it's back behind the leaf. Let's go ahead and remove this for the moment from our stamping platform. And then we are going to take this piece and go ahead and lightly put in some blending of some ink over the background as well. So you can choose yellow, as I did in the first one, or you can choose your orange. Just make sure that it's a light coating. I did yellow before, so let's see what happens if we do the orange. So I'm going to take the carved pumpkin, and I'm just going to very lightly blend over the entire surface of the card. Okay, so now we've got just a very light coating of our carved pumpkin in the background to give it just a little bit of color. If you'd like to, you can always put yellow and orange down on the background just to kind of give it a little bit of a mixture of colors. Also, if you'd like to, add in just a couple of darker spots. Whatever kind of look that you would like to have. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't have to be all solid and even, just some little dashes of dark color and light color throughout the project will give it just all that much more interest. All right, so let's go ahead now, and we want to go ahead and make it have a little more interest and to kind of frame it around. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our blending little dauber here again, and we're just going to go around the entire edge of the card just with the Lumberjack plaid. And what this is going to do is just kind of give a nice frame, draw the eye towards the center, towards that really lovely leaf, and kind of give that nice little frame look. All right. And now just for a kind of a final little cool look to the card, we're going to go ahead and spritz it with a little bit of water from our sprayer. Let that sit for just a moment. And what that's going to do is that's going to remove some of the ink and kind of give that, I don't know, I guess you call it like a little mottled, M-O-T-T-L-E-D, I think is how you'd spell it, mottled look, which is what you kind of get sometimes on your leaves. Do just a few more little spritzes there. Just dab them up. And there you go. That just kind of adds, again, a little bit more interest. So now at this point in time, we're ready to go ahead and stamp our deer and our leaves. So I'm going to bring back the stamping platform. Put my card back down on the surface there. And then I am going to get the deer, and I'm just going to place him kind of over the top there. As you can see, mine is well loved and well used. So I'm just going to place him over there on the kind of on the left-hand side. And then we will ink him up and stamp him down. I'm again still using the acorn. Uh-oh. And my stamp did not stick to my platform door. It probably needs to be cleaned off just a little bit, so I'm going to try and get him positioned back where I want him. Push down, get good contact so we can get a nice solid stamping of the image. And I'm going to add just a tiny little bit more ink to the stamp and give it a second impression. And that is one thing when you're using a stamping platform, you want to make sure that the back of your stamp is pretty clean and free of debris. And actually I can feel that there's just a little bit of a little lint or something, so that keeps it from sticking as well. Alright, so now we've got our deer down. So going to the upper right hand corner, we're going to take our oak leaf branch and just lay that up there in that corner so that we can get a nice little bunch of leaves hanging down there that we've got our deer looking up at. And since my stamp is a little bit bigger than my card, so I don't get ink completely all over the place, I am going to go ahead and put some paper down. Ink up my stamp. And sometimes you can really create a nice card with only using a couple of stamps. Helps to keep it uncluttered and simple. And I'm going to do one more impression. Just a little bit more ink on there. All right, there's a very, very nice image there. So now we can go ahead and remove our card from the platform, and at this point in time, let's just put a little bit of shadowing down underneath the reindeer, the deer there, so that it gives him a little bit more of a realistic look. So I'm just going to go ahead and use another little dauber, use a brown one this time. And this is where we're going to use our walnut stain. So I'm just going to take it and put just a little bit just underneath him there. Just so that it looks like he's not floating in midair. All right, and so now we are ready to put our card together. And so I am going to just use my adhesive tape here. You can use glue if you'd like to. And I'm going to start out first with my frame piece. Center that right in the middle of that piece of cardstock so that we've got a nice little frame around it. And then I am ready to go ahead and mount it onto my base card. All right. And there we have our finished card. Thank you so much for watching my video tutorial today. I hope you enjoy welcoming autumn in with this fun card. Be sure to check out more tutorials on the design team page at delbellosdesigns.com. Have a great day.